August 5th, it's 9:14 p.m. at the time of this recording. The S&P finished down negative today. Nasdaq down negative 0.83%. Nasdaq 100 the same. The rest of 2000 finished down negative 0.60%, and the Dow futures reached that rotation at finished at 0.5% up. Let's get into what happened today. So one of the chart patterns that we observed here today in the market was a dark cloud cover here. Again, I tell people, be unique with how you see the market and be unique with how you see the patterns here. It's not just patterns, it's not just fibs, it's not just technicals, right? I always tell people I combine these three things here together: the macro, the fundamental, the technical. That is my basis on how I trade. I don't trade one without the other. Macro, the what, the why, the fundamental, the use case. The technical here is the chart, which is what we're looking at here. And I really encourage you here, if you're a new streamer here, just spending a bit more than maybe 5 to 10 minutes here watching these videos here. If you take a look at my Discord today, right, you take a look here at the gain section today, either, right, everyone's just getting lucky every single day here, right, 5,000 here, right, 265,000 here, top step, right, payout. Either everyone's getting lucky every single day here, right, or maybe, right, we're trying to figure things out here in the form of every single day of the week. Okay, rant done, not really around. So right here, I have my levels marked out here. We're going to go ahead and switch over to the lower time frames here. On the daily time frame here, we do have this 55 EMA support here, but a concern here that we do have is we do have this RSI here shifting down here, which I'll explain here on different time frames here. And again, time frames matter also for your chart patterns here, okay? We have the daily time frame, which is more preferable, and I show people this, right? So let's go ahead and clean this chart off here real quick. People will try to use chart patterns here on the 1 minute. Am I saying you can't do that? No, that's not what I'm saying, but it's all relative here, right? Are you able to see everything that, right, on a larger time frame you can see here and here? No, the answer is no. It's very, very difficult to see what's happening. Going over here to QQQ, our moves to the downside and upside. Currently, QQQ in the after hours is down 0.20%, and that's based on earnings. We're going to get into that a little bit later into the video. But again, we have our zones here on QQQ. We have our yellow, which is our undercut zones, if you're familiar with my term here. It's called an undercut retest, right? We're either going to break out or break down here. And my levels to the upside that we absolutely have to break in order for the Nasdaq to continue higher to push all-time highs is your first level is right up here at 719. That's your call wall up here. Your second level is here is 722.04. And my third level is right up here, 724.50. Okay, these are the call walls here, your weekly expected moves. And your point of control right here, what is a point of control? A point of control, right, think about like, right, bulls, okay, versus bears. So, right, and also you can think about it from a standpoint of this, right? If you and me, right, have ownership of a company, right, this is us, this is our company, right, and all of a sudden, right, somebody gives up more ownership or somebody acquires more ownership, whichever, you know, however you want to frame it. Okay, if we're 50-50 here, let's say this is a bull and this is a bear, right? Your point of control, think about it like this, right? As soon as somebody, right, gets more ownership control shares of a company, right, what happens? Someone obviously has what? More say, more power. They're in literally control, right? That is the point of control. That's what I'm referencing here when I'm saying point of control here, right? So what happened here, right, today, right? You're breaking your points of control here, here, here. Very textbook A-plus setups here, right? And what happened here? Rejection, 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 rejection. And I said here in my last video, if you guys remember, no different from how people can't believe you went up here, no different from how people can't believe you went down here, right? Oh, I shouldn't have gone up. Okay, right, so they grab calls, right, because they're chasing here, right, on a top tick, okay? But then they're all the way back down here and like, why did we drop it? You know, everything's bullish. No, it's not right. Just, and again, go back to the first thing, right? It's macro, fundamental, and technical. It's not just the charts. What's actually happening here, right? What's your rate of change here doing, right? Rate of change here was clearly topped out at the middle of the day right here, where you're close to your top tick here. You had a bit of divergence here as well that I should notate here. And also one thing I'd like to mention here is when your RSI breaks 70, that's a sign to start looking at like what's happening here. Maybe look at news, maybe look at, again, different charts, different sectors, like what's actually happening underneath the hood here. So again, when we look at the chart right here, right, we see that the QQQs, right, we're sloping down here in rate of change. I tell people, right, you want to be above positive. You want to see this curling up here, not down. And you definitely want to see your RSI right here curling up, not down here, right? So we kind of flatten out here towards the end of the day. But as soon as you crack 70, which is right around here, you had a bit of divergence here, okay? You start to slope onwards down here. So what are my next levels here to the downside? We definitely need to hold our point of control. If you do not hold 716.74, we're going to go ahead and wick down here, 713.08. Your next point of control right here for an undercut is 709.97 here. And again, your levels here to the downside, 707, 703, all the way back down here to 699, where you broke out from previously, okay? So when we say undercut and retest here, right, go ahead and screenshot this. I'll give you a second. 3, 2, 1, 0. Okay. So when we talk about undercuts and retests, right, what are we talking about? Right, you have to find your levels, right? That's why what levels matter here, okay? So you can kind of see, right, undercut, right? You retested, you broke down here. You literally only will break up on an undercut or break out, even within chop, and people don't believe that here. You can just look at these charts here, right? Find your levels here, you undercut, retest, breakdown. It's almost like they do the same thing all the time here, right? Undercut, retest, breakdown. And this is the number one mistake traders make, right? As I'm zooming out here, right? Just level here, right? I didn't even see all this here, right? I just had to zoom out here, right? I'll show you my next slide here. Oops, right here. Nope, not that one, not that one. Okay. So one thing, right, that people don't realize here, right, is kind of referencing this as an example, which we'll get into here. Going back to QQQ. If you just look at the chart here, right, look how many times, right, like people are getting involved in these war zones. I don't want to get involved in a war. I keep saying that. I want to get involved cherry picking. I want to cherry pick the easiest setup here, right? 97% of traders are not profitable on a daily basis here. Which one are you going to be, right? So when you start to look at these charts here, when you start to kind of analyze what's really happening here, you start to understand, right, when maybe it's not a good time to get into position here. But this is the number one mistake traders make. That's why I say, guys, I'm really trying to help you, right? It's not financial advice. I'm just trying to give you insight on how I view Wall Street and I view the market. And we're doing quite well here in the Discord every day. So right here, right, you have your zones here, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You could say 6 right here. 7, okay, 8, 9. Then we have 10 over here, right? What is it that you're going to do here, right? So some people are trying to get involved kind of like in these war zones here. I'm going to go ahead and circle that right here, right? These feel like war zones here. These feel like war zones here. These feel like war zones here, right? Okay, and obviously you have the market levels here, but right, these feel like war zones, okay? So just taking a second here out of the day, just to mark your charts before market open, is really gonna help you think, make better decisions, and really have better outcomes here, okay? Going over here to, and this was the call out here in the Discord, right? This was call out here in the Discord. We can go ahead and just verify that here real quick in real time. Did I call that out here in the Discord, and did members make that? Well, obviously members did print that. I can share this screenshot yourself. You should also just come in here into the Discord to verify that for yourself, my claims here. So go over here to the 0DTE channel over here. I know I might be losing some of y'all, but that's okay. I think the people who really care about learning are going to be patient as I'm just kind of doing this. This is raw, uncut, and unedited. So 8:47 a.m. QQQ 727 puts here, corroborated right by what the member gains over here. Okay. So again, and we had one of our members today. Just man, Caleb joined a couple days ago, right? I mean, this is a payoff feed, right? I have to keep scrolling. Right? So, right, good job, 9,000%er, 3-point walk off here at the end of the day. Good job for you, dude. Going over here to App 11, let's get into the earnings here real quick. App 11, the revenue was 1.94 billion. The estimated was 1.92. So it says a miss here. I have to look into that. Maybe that's an error here. EPS was 3.72, and the estimated was 3.76 here, which is a beat. Adjusted, but none of this matters, guys, right? Because, right, people are going to say, like, why is the stock down here? So what broke it, right? Revenue grew 53% year over year and still missed. Wow. Growth alone stopped being enough. Free cash flow came up in 863 million against a 1.29 billion expected. That's crazy. That's the biggest gap on the sheet. And then Q3 EBITDA, the guide landed below consensus. The 4 number, not the print, did damage here. So basically, kind of in a nutshell here, right? I mean, I can read all these fancy terms here, right? All you need to know about earnings, right, is, right, if you, me, or a company, right, think about the stock market, right? Is this a profitable business? If you're investing in a stock, right, you got $500, and it's going down and going down and going down, right? Well, that's their wallet. It's like they're a stock market right now, right? And their actual wallets are going down. Do you want to invest in something, right, that is going down on making money but spending more money, right? No, you don't. Right, so their implied move was 12% here. I tell people, obviously, earnings is a gamble. You had no idea. I had no idea what was going to happen here. But shoot, and I tell people, when people miss earnings this big here, that loses a lot of trust. Like for me, looking at a stock like this, some people might make the mistake of going to a stock and they see like Adobe, they see Nike. Right, if you click on some of these other charts here, let me just find Nike real quick. We have Nike right here. When you start to miss big numbers like that, you start to get charts that start to look like this here. And that, again, number one mistake traders make here, right? It's different this time. It's a breakout. No, it's not, guys. Don't be fooled by these numbers. Don't be fooled by the Wall Street bets. Don't be fooled by the gurus online and all these other things here, right? Make sure, right, that you're reading the numbers. all you had to do, right, was look at their earnings report and say, wow, free cash flow, right, was down. And the expectation was that it was going to be up here. Based on your last earnings, right, we thought we were going to do great, but you didn't. You just lost trust in me as a consumer. I'm not going to look at this stock anymore ever again, right? Literally, Nike actually is a good example. I'm not going to look at this stock ever again. Coming over here to the S&P 500 here, we have our levels marked out, our upper extension to the upside right here. We do need to break 776. Your upper extensions up here that we marked out the other day are 785 all the way up here to 800. Again, no different from how people couldn't believe you went all the way up here. Yes, 800 is a price target in the view here, possibly even by the end of the month here. We do have a lot of different factors here, like the Iran war, that will influence, right, how the chart will react and move. Your moves to the downside here on the SPY are 754, 757, 751, 745, 738 here. Go ahead and take a screenshot here, right? People say RSI doesn't work, but again, I'm telling you guys, time frames are relative, right? I'm on a 2-hour time frame. You have to give an indicator more than 24 hours. You can't just grab an indicator, guys, and say, hey, well, this guy's strategy was using this RSI plus this, you know, this weird EMA on the RSI and hit the levels marked on that. Don't care, right? Try to do something for yourself, right? And get your own thoughts from that. And that even leads back to the beginning of the video here, right? When you look at chart patterns, right, it's all about your perspective, right? Someone's going to see yellow squiggly lines and be like, oh, that's not helpful. I find this very, very helpful. This is a proprietary indicator. Yes, it's RSI. Everybody has access to RSI. You can make your own code. I get that, right? But it's how do you use that and what do you do with it, right? So going back over here to the S&P, just taking a look here. Sorry, give me a second here. These are my levels here. You can go ahead and take a screenshot here. Again, you had a rated change here that you had a bit of divergence over here, but you did have a rated change that flipped negative here. I like rated change over MACD. I find it more helpful, for, again, more clear here. Again, you can get your own rated change as a rock, okay? And going over here to the chart over here, visually on the Soxel, switching over here to sectors, you can kind of see that you have a triple top here, right? But is that enough information to go off of? No, right? So, right, I'm going to show you something, right? You have a left, you have a head, you have a possible right shoulder here. Maybe this is the right shoulder. But also, what did I say yesterday here in the video as well? Right? So you did reject your 55 EMA here on the 12-hour time frame. Right, time frames do matter here, and you did close below, I believe, for the the daily. Let's see here, low 528 here, and we were at 530. So you did have a close below the 55 EMA institutional line here, just for that information real quick here in real time. So right, again, how I view the 55 EMA here is that's institutions. We're gonna put ints because I don't know how to spell. True story. Yeah, I'm dyslexic actually. Anyway, so right, we have institutional levels here that we just broke. That's not good. That's not what you want to see here. Again, what is this chart pattern here? Dark cloud cover, right? And what does dark cloud cover result in, right? Usually another bearish engulfing candle, but obviously we need confirmation. Certainly, earnings here, which we'll get here to in a second with SanDisk and WDC, Western Digital, didn't help the Sox's case out at all, let alone the market here as well. Again, going to go ahead and just back these charts up here real quick just to show you something. What does dark cloud cover look like? Right there. Go back over here to the Soxel here on the daily time frame. That's what you have right here. You have to be unique with how you see patterns. Some people might say this isn't that. The definition says this. The definition says that. That's too much information. And I feel like sometimes the stock market fills you with information as a trader to try to confuse you, right? If you actually look up all these chart patterns, you look up all these different things, what war means, what the USD Japanese yen trade looks like, the carryover, what bonds are, right? You're gonna get so much overloading information, and if you're a new trader, right, that's really gonna hurt you more than it's gonna help you. So I tell you guys, come to the Discord, right? I stream for free. I really try to give back where I can. I just ask that you say good morning, be a good human, be kind, really try to pay it forward. But obviously, right, when you hop on the stream, I tell people, lock in. Try to treat this like a job. And a lot of us, right, I've met a lot of people, right, a lot of us are down like hundreds of thousands of dollars. I get that you made mistakes, but it's not over, guys. But I need you to meet me halfway. I can't just give you the sauce, right, which is not financial advice, right? I can't just do all the work for you, right? I want to teach you how to fish and help other people. And unfortunately, right, I understand that I can't do that, so I've kind of let that go. I think it's really helped me kind of, come with peace for myself. Because when I was dead broke, ages ago, nobody helped me. I had to save myself. But I see that people are in a lot of pain, and why not try to get back where I can? That's what I was praying for. So maybe do what I said I was going to do ages ago. Anyways, enough of that. Here on AMAT here, we do have a point of control right down here. My lower levels are 507, and below that is your put wall here at 435 here. You can kind of see a defined put wall. Again, if you just go here to trading view, you drop an anchored volume profile. Oh, that's anchored VWAP. I didn't want to do that. If you go ahead and just drop an anchored volume profile right here, okay, you can kind of see your put wall right here. That's how you can find your walls here. A lot of people like to use GEX. A lot of people like to use order flow. A lot of people like to use a whole bunch of things. Some of the easiest tools, guys, that you can use are right here in trading view. Okay, so you don't even need levels, right? You can get your levels from looking at here. So let me go ahead and just delete that here. I'm gonna go ahead and again drop an anchored volume profile on it. You can find your point of control, maybe where you should have gone short, right? There's so many different brilliant tools here on trading view, right? I'm gonna show you one more time here. Trading view, anchored volume profile here. Okay, slap it on here. You can get your levels. You can get your put walls. You can get your call walls. You don't need fibs. You don't need all these fancy indicators. Someone might say anchor volume profile is an indicator, but you guys know what I'm saying. We've all seen that guy. I've been the guy before. Sometimes maybe I still am. I don't know, right? That has like these lines up here. Oh, I identified algos. I did this. I did that. I think that's just all fancy stuff to make it look cool when you had a really good play. I get it, right? But all you need to do right here is look at this again. One more time here. Drop an anchored volume profile here. Okay, and what do you have? Your point of control, right? And this is on a daily time frame. If you drop time frames, guess what's going to happen? All the levels will be different here, but you can get definitely on a Kinger time frame, which is a daily to me, a bigger picture of what's happening here, right? So here's your put wall. Obviously, we have our value area high up here. This is called VAH, so value area high. Don't think too much about the name. Just think to yourself, actually looking at the chart here, your buyer stuck up here, so people want to get out here. Sometimes that's where you have your retracements. Here is your point of control, right? Bulls and bears, right? Who's in control? Clearly bearish. What do you have from a structural perspective? Left. Here's your head, and then here's your right here. Okay, you have a doji right here, dragonfly, followed through by a bearish engulfing candle in progress right here. Okay, what might you do here next? Maybe create a bearish channel here. Okay, doesn't matter how you draw your trends. However you draw your trends is up to you. I do what works for me here. Nothing's ever perfect on the on the same days, or excuse me, different days here. Wow, I'm just like, I can't talk today. Yeesh. And right, what might you do here? Create a bearish channel here, come all the way down here, double bottom, and that's to say, right, is that where we're going to bottom at? I can't predict what the market's going to do. Maybe Trump says there's actually a deal, like maybe there's a legitimate deal, maybe there's a legitimate catalyst, right? Well, if there's an actual deal, right, that the market confirms, maybe we just rip on up here, right? And that's where you start to get crazy movement, and guess what? That's exactly what the market's showing you here, right? You go over here to the charts here, you're going to get insane movements, right? When you get macro headlines, right? This, right, these are all kind of speculation macro headlines. Someone's going to say a squeeze, someone's going to say that. Yes, right, but there's other things happening within the chart here. Fair value gaps, golden pockets, right? The list goes on. But it's your job as a trader, right, to be due diligent. And again, I'm just trying to be redundant here in this video to hammer to you. It's okay if you lost money, man, but just try to really pay attention to, if it's not me, somebody else, and just don't change it, right? If you're going to listen to somebody else, make sure that you're really trying to understand what these guys are saying. I'm trying to help you guys break bad habits, and if any of you guys find this helpful, I'd appreciate it if you like, share, and subscribe. Kind of helps me against the YouTube algorithm. I'm small, not big, going up against a lot of big dogs here in the market. Let's get into it again, okay? So again, bearish dark cloud cover here. I mean, you have dark cloud cover everywhere, right? And again, if you drop an anchored volume profile, right, that's going to be the same thing as here. You can get your put walls, your call walls here as well. And again, how do we do that anchor volume profile? Let's just slap it on here. Okay, look, put wall. Here's your secondary call wall, secondary put wall. You have your point of control here, which you broke, down below. You have your 50% line up here, but you're also broke. And look at this, right? You can see it, right? It's hard to see. Maybe you want to call it a fall on three. I can call it a bear flag. You got a whole bunch of things right here, okay? But again, what do you have here? Trap, look at that. After trap, okay? Obviously, had a reversal, which was kind of ridiculous here. But again, right? It's the same thing again and again. Just look at the charts here, right? And all these charts here are the same, okay? I like to go index sector stock, right? So sometimes people say, oh my gosh, well, AMAT's down. I get there's differences, right? You have different layers. You have layer 1, layer 2, layer 3, right? So sometimes people will try to get involved in stocks when it's the same chart. So, right, because somebody doesn't have 4 different time frames pulled up on different charts, let alone one time frame, right? What's going to happen here? Let me go long an AMAT, even though like the entire sector is down, right? So when a sector is down, right, people will make the mistake of saying, okay, so this is down, right? Let me go over here to, maybe Lam Research. Well, I'm like, Lam Research is down. Well, let me go over here to ASML. ASML is down. Well, let me go over here to, KLAG, right, which just had really bad earnings here. So that's why it's really important for you guys to just pay attention, look at the clues, have 4 charts pulled up in the same sector, see how they're all reacting here. If you see one chart that has maybe a bit of divergence from the entire sector, look into why maybe that stock's going up. Maybe it's a headline. Maybe it's a deal, right? Maybe this had earnings, right? Like Palantir. So going over here to Micron, or going over to Sandisk, what happened here? I think it was just a trap as usual. Again, earnings are a gamble. Sometimes I think the problem with some of these stocks is they are literally priced to perfection. I'm gonna do some all my charts now here. Again, same thing. We're gonna drop an anchor volume profile, see where it's at. Put wall is actually down here. Oh, okay, that's actually about a daily pattern. I'm gonna have to take a look at this chart here again. I find that actually fascinating. Here's your flush zone here visually on Sandisk here, right? This is kind of where like your last supportive buyers are. And again, that's how sometimes I view some of these bars. You go over here. Once you, right, kind of break these levels, right? It's not a magic 8-ball. It's just a way kind of like to look at the charts. Once you kind of break this level here, well, again, you do need different time frames, right? Do you see anything under here? No, right? Obviously, this is relative to what this time frame here, but right, why do we call it a flush zone? You break this, right? I don't know, right? Probably looks like you have nothing under here, and then right, this is where the things start to come together. Going here to Sandisk, it looks like they had a revenue beat, 8.39 billion. Estimate was 8.97. Non-GAAP EPS was 34.51. Estimated at 39.25 was a beat. A Q1 forward EPS guidance was 44.21. It was in line with their own stats. So this is another thing here on earnings, right? This was in line, right? Sometimes as traders, right? Well, we don't want you to be in line, right? If we're talking about a chip shortage, right? Well, your chips. So how is the chip shortage, right, in line, right? If it's so bullish, right? If you're raising all the prices, if all the prices which you're passing on to Amazon and all these other customers are so bullish, how is this in line? That's not something you want to see from a stock, right? That's gapped up here, essentially 2,000% here. Revenue growth, well, I mean, I would expect it, right, a beat here. So, 372%, 51% quarter over quarter. Here to GAAP net income at 6.09 billion. Here to Q4 buybacks at 4.5 billion, 89% cash flow, and then you have some new authorizations at 14 billion here, which is new. So basically, right on paper, it looks sexy right here. The blow up print here. Revenue was up 372% year over year, 51% sequentially. Gross margins hit 84.6%. 2/3 of the sequential growth came from pricing, not volume. The cyclical tell, and basically the board did add $14 billion to the buyback on top of 4.5 billion we purchased in this quarter. Okay, the Q1 guide at 44 to 46 EPS on basically 10.55 billion of revenue, read as in line, which is not a raise. So again, right, you're not raising. Why wouldn't you raise if it's so bullish? I thought Samsung over here came out and said, hey, we have a chip shortage. Well, for somebody that came out and said you're gonna have a chip shortage, right? I don't know. I feel like, right, somebody's lying here. So who's lying, right? And that's what I always like to put on the market, the macro factor, right? Is, again, these earnings are concerning, right? I thought we were so bullish. Someone's going to say, oh, we gapped up. No. Oh, they got to take profits. Why? Why would you want to take profits as a trader in a company that's so bullish? You have to think about that, right? If your buddy says, hey, man, this company's going to make you $10 billion, right? Let's try to buy it for a lower price. Like, you're going to say, what? Like, why would you buy that for a lower price? How does that even make sense, right? If this is a company that's, bullish. So again, right, one of my kind of tinfoil hats is, right, and I'm not saying I'm right, obviously none of this is financial advice again, right, but the problem that people have, right, is they can't think for themselves in terms of, right, like, just look at the charts here, right? Does this look bullish? Well, yeah, dude, we went up 1,000%, we got to pull back. Okay, technically speaking, we have to pull back here, right? But then what happened with gold? Gold didn't pull back, right? And speaking of gold, we're going to get into that in a second. Looks like gold got a bid here. But again, all I'm trying to say, you guys, is really try to pay attention to some of these things here. Does this chart look bullish? If the market is so bullish, why are the stocks moving so volatile, right? Is it really because of the war, right? Is it really because of the technicals, or like what's the fundamental use case? In this case, right, we had wars, we've had recession talks, we've had tariffs, we had all these other things, right? But these stocks still went up so high. So what's different now? But nobody has an answer. Oh, well, I don't want to hear it. So, right, what's the lesson here, right? The options priced low to mid-teens, the tape gave single digits. Same night as APP. So that straddle paid basically 1.7x here on this bleed. Obviously, direction is in the edge here. Looking here at Google here, just trying to go over chart patterns here again, and just helping you, again, understand it's not just about chart patterns. To tell people, this is why you want to turn all your indicators off, right? I have my levels marked out here. Google's levels here to the downside are 347, 335 here, and then your flush zone right here is 315.19. if you have clues here, right? They're like doing almost the same thing here, right? Again, I get that the candles are, someone's gonna say, oh, there's 2 bars up here. Well, again, right, let's go ahead and just do one of my favorite things here. Let's go to the 12-hour time frame. You notice how some of those gaps disappear. Evening star, wow, right? So again, hopefully some of you guys kind of find this like just funny, because it's like, right, this took you 2 seconds, right? Sometimes, right, people are gonna look at this, well, this doesn't look the same. I'm like, but it kind of is, bro. Let me show you. Oh, yeah. Again, sometimes candles aren't the same things, but you have to be creative with how you see them. It doesn't matter how I'm telling you how to see them, right? Come up maybe with your own theory with how you see them. I want you to be unique as a trader. I want you to separate yourself from any, other people who are in the market. That, I think, is what's going to make you successful. What is your edge? A lot of people like to ask, what is your strategy? And I tell people, my strategy is me. I bet on myself every day. I try to make videos. I have like 30 charts here put up that I'm about to go over here. So if you're thinking about turning off the video, please stay here again, like, share, subscribe. It really helps me feel confident about, rather not confident. It just helps me feel like I'm justifying my time. You know what I mean? Here on the US 30 bonds here, really not much going on here. Same thing here. Again, we talked about this here in the other video. And again, I think we're in the AI market where they keep trying to gaslight you to explain that why this is different from 2007 because we have chips. Well, I don't know, man. We just went over chips, and this isn't like really bullshit at all. But they're going to try to convince you, right, that this is different this time. Don't believe them. Don't buy it. Not financial advice. Going over here to crude oil, I am looking at these 3 candles here again. Charts like this are really hard to look at here. Here are your levels. You do have a control bar here. How I see this candle right here is someone might say, oh, there's a wick. I don't see it as a wick. I just see one red bar here. So what has it been doing? It's been controlling price. Where have you been trading? Literally within this bar here. So mark the bar here. We're going to get a little bit silly here with the chart. Mark the bar here, right? We're going to color it red here. What's been price doing? Has not broken this control bar. Notice how that works? Control bar, right? Now you have your inside bar, right? The inside bars are typically categorized as having a higher low that's trading within, right, price action here, right? Notice how it doesn't break here, okay? I mean, maybe like a little wick, okay? And notice how it doesn't break to the upside here, right? So, right, it's consolidating right here. Maybe we're gonna get a big move. Maybe we don't. Maybe this is a cup and handle. Maybe this is an inverse head and shoulder, right here. Maybe here's your left. Maybe here's your head. Maybe here's your right. Okay. Whew. Volatility here. The VIX not really telling me any different, and I feel like sometimes honestly you can't really see anything from this. A lot of people try to make sense of something. Well, look at the past here. So they're trying to make sense of something, right? That just barcodes, right? So where has VIX been here? I get that people have their own strategies for that. Maybe I don't know, right? But you've been barcoding from 2026 here. Okay, this is the 30-minute. You've been barcoding here since essentially, just call it what it is, 2023 here, and you're kind of at the same price right over here. I guess maybe I do find it fascinating that you have it come back down to these lows, so maybe that's something to pay attention to. Maybe the new support for the VIX is 15, right? So maybe, again, I guess being here, not trying to be rigid, which I tell traders you shouldn't do, try to be open to like how you kind of see the market. Maybe that's interesting. Maybe it's interesting right here that what? Is this new support for the VIX, right? I don't know, right? We're gonna have to find out here, right? Maybe what's the next new level here? Maybe it's up here, maybe it's not, right? But what I do know about the VIX is, right, I don't find it very helpful for myself, only because, right, we've been kind of barcoding trading within a range here, and we have not broken out really or broken down. It's always short-lived on breakouts here, right? Even on these extreme moves, right? 2024, that was flash crash, and you kind of come down here to 2007, I think, or 2020 here, right? It's very short-lived. It doesn't stay up here for forever, okay? Whew. Sorry, I'm getting out of breath. I'm a little bit tired here now. So work with me. I'm going to get through this video. I'm going to try to take my time, okay? We have Western Digital here. I'm going to go ahead and just get down to it. So right here, everything was in line. I mean, you beat here, right? 3.75, 3.56, 1.66, 54.4%. Operating margin, 37.3. Revenue guidance, EPS, gross margins, like everything was fucking great. But what happened here? Okay, the beat is not a catalyst when positioning and already in max long. Trade the reaction, not the report. The tape was telling you at 2 p.m. right when we crashed today. What do you have here? Following 3 here. Do what you will with that information, not financial advice. Okay. Okay, so basically everything was a beat. The guy came in above consensus, still down in double digits. Stock was up 222% into the print. Perfection was already priced. Guide implies sequential growth in revenue, margin, and EPS all to accelerate. Regular sessions already gave back 5.4% before the release even hit. Again, look at this chart here, right? It's the same thing every time. Everyone tries to tell you it's different, but what's different about this, right? Look at these charts here. Even VIX, look at these charts here. What's different this time, right? Look at these charts here. It's the same thing, guys. That's why you have to be unique with how you see things. Don't rush. Be patient. Okay? Nothing really going in here with Japan, so I'm not going to cover the carry-in trade here. Just keep your eye on the charts here. Looking at the IGV here, we do see maybe a rotation here into software. I always find it fascinating, right? One of my favorite trades is kind of go long semis, short software. Maybe this is the time to go long software, short semis here. So some of my stocks on the watch list here. If you want my watch list, go ahead and go join the Discord here. I stream for free. I have my watch list in there. Take a look at maybe some of the stocks that I'm looking at here within the software sector. Sometimes people say, oh my gosh, Microsoft went up $1 billion. I can't get into it now, right? There's other stocks, guys, besides Microsoft. So the problem that people make is they get involved with these stocks here, right? They start to FOMO chase, right? And then they end up like this. Okay. There's other stocks, right, that haven't even taken off. So from a leap's perspective, a leap is when you grab an option, typically categorized as longer than 6 months up to a year, right? There's a lot of other stocks that are really good leap options, okay? So again, you missed Microsoft, it's okay. You missed Palantir, it's okay. There's other stocks out there. Taking a look here at Salesforce here. That was one of my stocks here. I'm not going to go over it. That's for the Discord. Microsoft here. Amazon again. Same chart here. I just keep telling you guys, right? You have your flush zone up. You have your value area high up here. You have your value area low. Your put wall here. And then you have your secondary put wall, which I believe I would categorize now as a point of control. So I should change that to a point of control here. And again, why do they go up here? CapEx, right? What they spent here on the previous quarter, right? Which they went down on. Oh my gosh, you guys are spending so much, right? It was now justified by their revenue, okay? Looking here at AMD, again, It's a pig here after hours as well. You have Western Digital here, just showing you some of the same charts here. NVIDIA here, same chart. SPY, same chart. I know I'm being a little bit redundant here. I'm kind of running out of the same guys. Trying to go as long as I can here. Okay. And we have gold futures here, guys. We had a massive bid for gold. So this is crazy, guys. I really want you to pay attention. If anything to this one video, you can tell maybe when institutions are starting to get involved here, okay? Look at this.
5. Blue stack.
Sorry about that. So you can start to tell when charts are starting to get a bid here, right? Look at gold here, right? You can start, and it's very fascinating because the other day, right? What was I telling you here, right? Here's Fastly here. Nope. Again, this is wrong and edited. Please give me some grace. Here we go. At least Prometheus isn't talking here today, guys. So right here, gold is starting to catch a bid here. So you can start to see, right, when stocks catch a bid, right? It's maybe this just a dead cow bouncer. Maybe it's just a false breakout here. We're obviously going to have to look at the charts to kind of adjust and adapt in real time to figure out maybe what's happening here. But again, right, maybe this is your left. Maybe this is your head right here. Maybe this is your right here. All I know here is you have a massive engulfing candle here. So maybe we're going to get some retracements, or maybe we finally break out here. Okay? Go ahead and mark your levels like you would. Or you can do what? Drop an anchored volume profile. Point of control up here. Value area low right here. Mark it. I'm gonna mark it right down here. Maybe where are these next levels that you might head up to, right? Without even using any fibs, without even maybe cheating here, right? Okay. Let's mark your levels. Where do you go up or down out here, right? So it looks like you come up or down right here. How big are your moves from up there? Free tool here on TradingView. Go ahead and use this. Gap it up here. Do we go up 10% here? Do we barcode? Do we come up here peekaboo, right? So I call it peekaboo. So just do this, drop it up here. Maybe we come up 3% more here. Pretty nice ride up in there anyways. But you're almost already there here, right? Maybe this is a good place to get involved with gold, right? Maybe I'm gonna start looking at gold here for my Discord here, right? Not financial advice here, but again, these are the clues here that takes you about a few minutes here without knowing anything about charts here. I want to recap this. What can you do tonight? Let me show you. Go to your favorite chart, get an anchor volume profile, slap it on a daily, and start just to look right here. Right? I'm not saying this is a magic 8 ball, but this is really a good place to start here. Slap down here. Slap that up here. Right? I'm not going to get up here because that's a little bit ridiculous here. And maybe this is a pathway to gold to finally get back to 8,000, which is actually, I think, one of the Goldman Sachs' target. Somebody fact check me on that. I don't know. Okay. I think that's it, guys. I hope that you enjoyed the video. I hope that maybe the words that I'm saying to you are kind of speaking. Again, if you're struggling here as a trader, just, you know, join the Discord. Ask me a question. I'm not a stranger. I've tried to do a lot better job about the way I speak. I think sometimes I don't really connect to people, but sometimes I just get frustrated. But I get that everyone's on their own journey. I'm not responsible for it. But damn, I'll be damned if I don't tell you, you know, just try to, you know, maybe learn some of these tools here. This was the video. This was actually the thumbnail for my other video that I posted the other night. So just try to give me a chance. Join the Discord. Watch the live streams here. Catch you guys tomorrow. Have a blessed day. You know, whatever you're not changing, you're choosing. Hope to see you in the room. Bye.